Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion, which was built before the Dolmabahçe and Beylerbeyi palaces during the Ottoman period, is one of the oldest buildings in Istanbul. The pavilion is located at Hunkar İskelesi in Beykoz, on the Asian side of the Bosphorus. It's the first masonry building constructed in the new style on the shores of the Bath. Construction of the pavilion began in 1845 by the governor of Egypt, Kavalalı Mehmed Ali Pasha, to be used by Sultan Abdulmecid, and upon his death. It was completed in 1854 by his son, Said Pasha, and presented to the Sultan. The building, also known as the Mecidiye Pavilion, is dedicated to Sultan Abdulmecid, and it is located at the top of the wooded park, with a landscaping arrangement rising from the sea in terraces. In its early years, it was used by the Sultan as a riding lodge for short excursions, but in later times it was used for receiving state dignitaries and ambassadors. Architectural features of Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion. The pavilion is a beautiful example of the 19th century interpretation of the Serdab kiosk tradition of earlier Ottoman architecture. On the facade of the building, stones imported from Italy and domestic white marble were used. The two-storied, timber-framed building has a symmetrical plan and a neoclassical facade. Photographs of the pavilion taken during the reign of Sultan Abdulmecid to reveal its rich decoration with gilded furniture, upholsteries, and curtains of Herrick fabrics, Baccarat vases, and big crystal chandeliers. The inside of the pavilion has been decorated with valuable colored porphyry, even though they have not survived to the present day. We learn from the archives that in Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion there were additional rooms and service areas, such as kitchens, a thermal hammam, a small kiosk, water reservoir, conservatory, poultry house, aviary, and dovecote for servants and officials of the Sultan. Historic events in Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion. Although Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion was built as a gift for Sultan Abdulmecid, the Sultan was indifferent to this pavilion because it was a reminder of the Egyptian question in Ottoman history, which created great distress to the state. During the Crimean War, 1853-1856, Zaybeks, who were among the most distinguished volunteer soldiers from Izmir and Aydın, came to Istanbul to join the army, and before they were sent to the front line, they gathered in the military camp established on Beykoz Meadow, and the leading FS soldiers stayed in Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion. Prince Jerome Napoleon, who participated in the Crimean War, visited Istanbul and Sultan Abdulmecid in the summer of 1854. He was the son of Napoleon I's brother Jerome, who stayed in Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion during his second visit to Istanbul, and Sultan Abdulaziz visited the prince here. Sultan Abdulaziz frequently used the pavilion during the summer months as a retreat. During his stays, he watched the Bosphorus, organized wrestling competitions on Beykoz Meadow, and hunted in the hunting grounds of Tokat village. On Saturday, October 15, 1869, Sultan Abdulaziz held a sumptuous banquet in Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion in honor of the French Empress Eugenie during her visit to Istanbul, and together they watched the procession of the army. On that day, the people of Istanbul came to Beykoz by land and sea to see the great historical ceremony. Soldiers were arranged on the main roads equipped with Turkish and French flags. For this purpose, an ornate pavilion in Arab style was constructed. In the meadow, the center of the pavilion was reserved for the Sultan and his guests, and right and left sides were reserved for state officials and ambassadors. The Sultan and his guest came to the pavilion in a royal coach drawn by 6 horses. During the early part of his reign, Sultan Rasad held a spring feast on the 21st of May 1910 at Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion Gardens for the chairman of the parliament Meclisai, Mebzin Ahmed Reza Bey, deputies, members of the assembly, Yan Meclis, and government officials. Later functions of Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion and its opening as a museum. This imperial building was used by the Ottoman sultans and their guests from time to time, beginning with the reign of Sultan Abdulaziz. It was later used to house public institutions because of its location outside the city and clean air. First, it was used as an orphanage Dr. Atom. In 1920s, it was used for trachoma patients, and in 1953, it became a preventorium. 1963, the preventorium was closed, and the pavilion was converted into Beykoz Children's Chest Diseases Hospital. Beykoz Mecidiye Pavilion was placed under the auspices of National Palaces Department on the 23rd of December 1997. The restoration, which started in 2010, was completed in 2016. And on the 11th of April 2017, it was opened to public as a museum.